All right, so the officer who pinned George Floyd down has been charged with third-degree murder. It comes as new video emerges showing another angle of the incident. NBC News investigations reporter Emmanuel Saliba combed through the new video, along with new security footage and police reports, to piece together the last minutes before Floyd's death. Watch.
Police said they found the suspect in his car. The first officer approaches the driver while his partner walks around to the passenger side. The interaction between the officer and Floyd can't clearly be seen from this angle, but the driver of this black vehicle filmed part of it on his phone. The officer struggles to get Floyd out of the car. His colleague walks over to help him put the handcuffs on. The black car drives off. Floyd falls briefly to the ground. The officer helps him back up before leading him towards the sidewalk, where he directs Floyd to sit on the ground. A parked police car shows up to the scene. Redacted body cam footage from that new officer was released by the park police chief. The officer exits the car to see his two colleagues questioning Floyd and two people who were just in the car. A few minutes later, the officer helps Floyd up off the ground. The video has no sound, so we don't know what was said between the two officers and Floyd in this moment. They walk him across the street back towards their squad car. Floyd falls to the ground once more. Police originally said they noticed Floyd going into medical distress and called an ambulance to the scene. Another police car pulls up, obstructing our view from this angle. It's hard to clearly see what unfolded in the next 4 minutes, but behind the vehicle's open back door, we can make out what may have been a struggle. Whatever was happening between Floyd and the officers at that very moment caught the attention of this passerby who stops to watch. 2 minutes later, a witness standing on Chicago Avenue captures part of the scene unfolding behind the squad car. One officer looks over as three of his colleagues restrain Floyd, who is lying face down on the ground in handcuffs. We don't know how Floyd ended up on the ground. One officer is pressing his knee into Floyd's neck, which we see clearly in this video, taken only seconds later by another witness standing in front of the grocery store. She captured the next 10 minutes of his deadly arrest, up until he is taken away in an ambulance.
All right, Paul Butler is a former federal prosecutor and Georgetown law professor. He's also the author of Chokehold, Policing Black Men. He joins us now. Paul, good to talk to you again. So when you see that damning piece of video there, compiled together somewhat forensically, do you think that the attorney got the charge right with third-degree murder?
I think so. So the third-degree murder goes to the intent of the defendant. Intent to kill does not have to be proven with third-degree murder. With second-degree murder, it would have to be. First-degree murder, interestingly enough, in Minnesota, is if you kill premeditatedly or you kill a police officer, you're guilty of first-degree murder. The reality, Eamon, is when you go to the big house, and that's where this officer will go if he's convicted, and they ask that famous question, what are you in for? You say murder. You don't say first-degree murder or second-degree murder. You say murder. So if this officer is convicted, he will carry that stigma. The punishment for third-degree murder is significantly less. It's up to 25 years in prison, as opposed to life in prison for first-degree murder. But 25 years is a long time for anyone to do, and we're actually a really long way from getting a conviction. This is just the first step.
One of the more important things in that video that has been compiled is that you actually see at one point from one of the videos shot by a bystander, other police officers kneeling next to the body of George Floyd. I'm curious to get your thoughts on that, because the prosecutor was asked about the other three officers. Take a listen to what he said.
I'm not going to speculate today of the other officers. They are under investigation. I anticipate charges, but I'm not going to get into that.
What other charges, or what charges would you consider if you were in that position?
I consider the same charges as this first officer got. So if you hold a man down, he's on his face, on his stomach, on the hard concrete. His hands are handcuffed behind his back. He's saying he can't breathe. Now, if your foot is on this, or if your knee is on this man's neck, you're culpable. I don't know if you're any less culpable if you're holding him down by his back or his neck, as these other officers were. And so, while I would hope that their charges would reflect the seriousness of their conduct, I'd expect that we'll see something like accessories helping the officer who is charged with murder commit the crime. And those could carry a significant less of a penalty. But again, we have this horrific situation where 4 days after the fact, an officer who is seen crushing a man's neck on videotape is finally charged with the crime. 3 other officers who were very involved in the same enterprise, the same criminal enterprise, they're still on the street. They haven't been charged with a crime yet. I mean, I have to say, as a black man in America, I didn't know it was that hard to get arrested.
Paul Butler there. Thank you very much for that thought.
Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.